Morning and welcome back to my platform. I wanted to start a conversation amid this whole coronavirus epidemic that's going on. And the reason I wanted to start a conversation is so we can keep up with the conversation over the next few months as we progress through.
Main way viruses spread is when you touch your own mouth, nose, or eyes.
Very important things. Working hard, not to touch your face.
That everyone would have to fill out that would go directly.
The reason I wanted to start the conversation is so we can keep up with it over the next few months as we progress through this epidemic. I will be going over scientific publications, but they're very friendly to the general public. They're not, anybody can read them. They're very easy to understand. But before we get into the first one, please do join me in thanking Dr. Murray. Dr. Larry Murray is the founder and owner of all the Happy Tooth featuring orthodontists. Fortunately, Dr. Murray and the corporate office had to make the tough choice of shutting down our offices for the next 3 weeks, which was going to leave us unpaid. But Dr. Murray approved 80 hours of paid time off. Not paid time off, something like catastrophic leave. Nevertheless, he approved the 80 hours, which means we're going to be getting paid. The Happy Tooth employees are going to be getting paid, and we're going to have that money in our pocket to help us. And we also have paid time off that we can use. So many thank yous to Dr. Murray. And when we do open back up, hopefully early next month, do come check us out. We have lovely, lovely offices. I woke up ready to work, so let's get straight into this video. First things first. Go to YouTube and in the search box type dental student doctor. You see this girl right here, she's pretty amazing. Click on that face and then click the subscribe thing right here. And now go into your Google or Safari Google. I don't have the energy this morning to be rolling my tongue, so my accent is going to be a little bit stronger today. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me or your fellow watchers to clarify down below in the comments. In your search engine, you're gonna type PubMed. Let's click on PubMed. And just really fast, how PubMed works. It has a lot of scientific publications, a whole lot. So if you have a specific topic that you want to read on, let's say HIV. That bothers me that it's not in all caps. There we go. And as you can see, there's 35,000. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. There's 359,879 publications on HIV just on PubMed. Before we do the report, let me show you how this kind of works, how you can kind of maneuver through PubMed if you've not used it before. It has a lot of free text, but not all the publications on here are free. A lot of colleges do give students access to a lot of the work on here, but I'm not in college anymore, so I don't have that privilege. So if you're like me, go ahead and click the free full text. That lowers it down a lot, but again, there's way too much work on here. So I like reading publications within the past 5 years, so you can click that, you can select that. Or if you just want to read work that's been published in the past 12 months, you can custom range it. Again, that lowers it down a little bit more, and you can keep filtering until you have a smaller pool of work to select from. So today's reading, you're gonna go into the search box up here and type up COVID-19 report Australia and click on this one. As you can see, there's report 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and as you can see, the 6th one was published on March the 11th, and today is March the 19th, so the next report should be coming out soon. So let's go ahead and click on the first report. click the free full text. It doesn't say free, but oh, it does right here, free full text online. And here is our free full text. I'm gonna go straight into the paper, so let's get it started. As you can see, this is the first report, and it was submitted on February 1st, and they actually even gave a very specific time, which is why I chose to follow along for these reports, because they have reports coming out every week on a weekly basis. Just in Australia, in that first week when they started reporting, total of 12 cases reported up to February 1st. And of those 12 cases, they had a travel history to China, which we're gonna see later, actually, or right now, which cases were initially associated with exposure to a wet market located in Wuhan, which is in China. So all these 12 cases reported in Australia all had a travel history to Wuhan. The majority of the 12 cases had mild to moderate symptoms, and there was 0 deaths reported. And outside of Australia, internationally, there was a total of 11,953 cases reported just that first week, leading up to February 1st. The majority of the infections were reported in China, so 11,821 of these were reported in China, with 159 deaths. And actually, if we go down here, as of February 1st, in mainland China, there was 11,791 reported cases, 259 deaths. So all those deaths were on mainland China. And then outside of mainland China, there was 163 confirmed cases and 0 deaths. Also, while we're here, let's create a bit of a time frame. So this is when the first onset of signs and symptoms occurred in Australia. Again, this is just in Australia. And then 17 days later, as we can see, WHO declared the COVID-19 outbreak a public health emergency. And then 2 days later, that's when this data was reported. So that's a pretty fast timeline. So moving on, patients infected present with a wide range of symptoms. Most seem to have mild disease, and about 20 appear to progress to severe disease, including pneumonia, blah blah blah, and death. So let's go back up here and take a look at this table. It's a pretty simple table. I like it for its simplicity. You don't have to be a scientist to look at this. Anyone can really look at this, which is why I also decided to go over these reports instead of something more difficult, like not friendly to the general public. This is a week when they started doing the reporting, and they were also kind enough to include data from the previous week. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Or so in New South Wales, New South Wales. And this week they had 4 cases, and then when they started doing the reporting, there was zero new cases reported. So I'm curious to see if that stayed the same or changed within the next few weeks and in the next few reports. Victoria, 2 cases before the previous week, 2 this week. I'm also gonna follow up on that, and I hope they do report them in the next reports, so we can see if there was an increase, decrease, what happened. Queensland, 0 to 2. And let's jump here, South Australia. Same thing. The previous week they had 0 new cases, and then the week they started doing the reports, they had 2 new cases. So all in all, they had 12 cases, and of all these 12 cases, they have outlined for us in this beautiful visual the signs and symptoms. So out of the 12 cases, all of them did show signs and symptoms of fever and chills, so please be watching out for that. Most of them had a cough, runny nose, and sore throat, so please be sure to watch out for those in yourself and in the people around you. And then there's other signs and symptoms you can take a look at. Let's move on. I also kind of like this table, again, because it's just very simple to look at. Outline for us the signs and symptoms that 12 cases reported. let's take a look at mainland China first. From December, they had a total of 11,791 cases, and just in this 1 week, they had 10,504 cases reported. So Cambodia had 1 from December, 1 reported by February 1st. Canada 4. The US had 7 from December, 5 reported by February 1st, 5 new cases reported by February 1st. Japan had 14. So we can kind of see a trend. I'm gonna skip on transmission because the exact nature of transmission is poorly understood. From previous outbreaks, it is roughly, they think the main mode of transmission is human-to-human contact. So just because this is the first report, I'm gonna skip on the transmission, and hopefully we can cover it a little bit more in detail in the upcoming reports. Something else I'm also gonna be keeping track of is the incubation period, how it changes from this first report to the next few reports. So current estimates as of February 1st of incubation period range from 2 to 10 days, with a mean incubation period of 5.2 days. So let's see if those are still the estimates in the next report. Obviously, as they get more data, they're gonna get more accurate estimates. Again, or difficulty breathing, please do seek medical care as soon as possible. Treatment. So obviously we know antibiotics don't work for viruses, so currently there's no specific medication for the disease. Some antiviral medication has shown promise, so let's follow up again on that in the next report and see if they have any promising data that we can take a look at. Clinical care of suspected patients should focus on early recognition, immediate isolation, and implementation of appropriate infection prevention and control measures. If you're curious on how they collected this data, you can read up on this part, and then you can read about the author, Dr. Walker. So the first report was a little bit short because again it's the first report. I have printed out the other 6 reports. They do get bigger and bigger as time goes by, so I might do the second report maybe in 3 days, just because this one was very short, and then we're gonna move to doing them weekly.